Welcome back to Scratching the Surface on episode 34. Today, I'll be talking about 4 horror movies that I've watched in the last 2 months. I'll talk about each of them briefly for a couple minutes. I'll have this episode wrapped up in 10 minutes. Heavy spoilers on each of these movies. So if you haven't seen any of them, I recommend you stop watching the video and go watch them. Before I get into the episode, please check us out at scratchingthesurface100.com. You can read our monthly article blogs, leave and write your own horror movie reviews, and keep up to date for upcoming horror movies for the year of 2025 and beyond. The 4 horror movies that I will be talking about includes Nosferatu, Wolfman, Presence, and Companion. I'll start these movies out with Nosferatu. In episode 33, I did a history summarized on the story and the character to get us excited for Robert Eggers' take on the story. I predicted we would get a visual Gothic masterpiece, and that is exactly what we received. This film looks amazing. There are a few key differences here that Eggers added to the story in his version. The main one is the character of Ellen Hutter. She doesn't have that much significance in the other 2 versions. She really doesn't affect the plot in any kind of way. She's just kind of stuck in the middle of things. Here, though, she plays a very substantial role. Her character has the ability to see into the spirit world, to converse with those beyond the grave. She is a woman born in the early 1800s, the 19th century, and she is struggling with society. At that time, women were expected to act a certain way, to be modest, to be moral, to be loving, doting wives to their husbands, and she's really struggling with these expectations. She longs for love. She longs for somebody to have. She needs the physical touch. So through speaking to the spirit world in desperation, she calls on Count Orlok from beyond the grave. Maybe unintentionally, but either way, she begs to him to come to her. And once she does that, Count Orlok has to come to her and be with her. So, on his way to doing that, he brings death and destruction to all of the people, similar to the bubonic plague, which is the same type of symbolism we saw in the other 2 versions. I wasn't surprised that they kept that here in this movie. I think it's a really effective choice to go with for the plot. So that's the key difference for sure, is Ellen Hutter. There is some good messages here. Number one, I just talked about the repression expectations of women. Then looking at pushing pills, there are moments in this film where Ellen Hutter is tied down to a bed and is having episodes. She's writhing, she's having convulsions because of these episodes where she goes into the spirit world, and everybody thinks that she has something wrong with her, but in reality, she has some very special gifts, and people of the time are not realizing that, and they're pushing her pills because of that. So you could tie that in with society today, pushing pills for people that do not need them. You know, you look at illnesses like ADHD or something like that. Do they really need those pills? So there's another good tie-in for a message here in the film. And Count Orlok, like I said, destruction and death he brings to the city, eventually making his way to Ellen Hutter. And Ellen Hutter, in the end, distracts him by making love. There's a lot of sexual tension in this movie, so just a heads up. But she makes love with Count Orlok at the end of the movie. She distracts him. The sunlight comes up right at the right time, and Count Orlok is killed by the sunlight. Ellen Hutter does die in the process. She sacrificed herself for the betterment of others, which is a testament to her character. The appearance of Count Orlok is also a big difference here. It's not your typical vampire-esque look that we typically see with the tropes from over the years. It's evidently more historically accurate based off of the description of Count Orlok in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. He's a Transylvanian nobleman with a big fur coat and a big mustache. He is decrepit. He looks like he's rotting scene by scene, which could also tie into greed of the wealthy. They take and they take and they take, like Count Orlok does in terms of taking and taking and taking lives, yet is never satisfied, never fulfilled or filled, and continues to rot You could look at the wealthy continuing to rot morally the richer they get. So there's some good symbolism in this film, and it looks incredible. The cinematography is exceptional, and I'm not surprised when you watch The Northman, The Lighthouse, and The Witch. It just makes sense. This guy knows how to make a movie that looks damn good. We have Werewolf to look forward to now in 2026 from Eggers, so I'm really looking forward to that. The next movie I'm going to talk about is Wolfman from director Lee Wanell. We have this revolution of the Universal Monsterverse, which is kind of a cool idea. I think these characters deserve to get more attention. I know you don't want to dig up old characters, but when they're this good, I think it's worth consideration. And especially after The Invisible Man in 2020 from Wanell, I thought maybe there was some momentum building here for Wolfman. My excitement, I think, was a bit unjustified. The film itself was a little underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, it looks great visually. I mean, there's that first establishing shot that sets the tone. There's this heavy melancholy that clings to the air. The mood, the whole movie is on point. But the dialogue and the dynamics between the cast could have been better. I thought they were pretty lackluster. The film itself is pretty slowly paced, so a lot of people had issues with that. And the transformation, hotly contested, is more human. It's not as abrupt of a transformation. It's more slowly drawn out. You see subtle changes in our protagonist, Blake, the father of his family, as he slowly becomes a werewolf, very slowly. I mean, you might have some skin boils, maybe some hair growing here and there. You got some claws coming out, and then also some canine teeth coming in. So it could have been better in terms of the transformation. He was trying to retain that human element, though. You can see the protagonist, Blake, the father, struggling with the fact that he's still aware of his family members around him, but he can't control himself to a certain point in the film. And you do feel bad for him. And then the film has a good message about family troubles, issues in the past, and making amends with those things, trying to move past them and getting on with your life. We see Blake trying to do that in this film. After his father dies, he goes back home to the farm to try to just put those things in the past. The actual werewolf that we see in the film that is fighting, trying to kill the family, is revealed to be Blake's father in the end. Blake's father was always interested in finding a werewolf. At the beginning of the movie, we hear about them talking about werewolves on the radio that exists in the area. So his dad actually was killed and turned into a werewolf. He is the main werewolf that we are going up against the entire movie. So there's this moment when Blake, after turning into a werewolf, takes out the one trying to kill them and realizes that that's his father. That hits hard because you have that family trouble and you're trying to put that shit in the past. In a way, it works for Blake to move on, but it's too late. He's a fucking werewolf. So not a bad movie. It's not great, not bad, kind of right in the middle. Presence. Now, this one did a lot for me. I think Presence is a really unique take on the subgenre of haunted house films. We have the perspective from the eyes of the ghost. You feel like a fly on the wall. Our characters move into a new house and they become aware that maybe there is a presence within it. The family members we kind of watch come into the house, talk amongst each other. We can really pick up on the dynamics between the family members, and they are not good. The dynamics are terrible. We have Tyler and his sister Chloe who do not get along. You have mother Rebecca who has a unhealthy favoritism towards her son Tyler. And then you have Chloe struggling with the past suicide of her best friend. So she's struggling internally with that. And Father Chris is kind of in the middle of everything, trying to mend the bonds between. To make matters worse, the mother and father are going through undisclosed financial troubles. So that's a big issue too, adding to the tension and the stress. Some really good dialogue, some really good conversations, some great long shot takes here in the film. We may follow a character from the kitchen as they go up the stairs to a bedroom. We might end that scene in a bedroom closet. And then we cut to black for a few seconds, which gives us a recounted memory of one's life, which ties directly into the film's message and the ending, which I will talk about now. We have another character introduced, Ryan, who is a friend of Tyler's at high school. He comes over to the house after school. He talks with Chloe a lot in her bedroom about thoughts of ending it. That is their lives. And they talk about it openly, what it must feel like. And initially, Chloe and her mental struggles and inner turmoil is okay with these conversations because she's unsure of herself as a human being. But as she becomes stronger in the film, we can discern her growing discomfort with these conversations. But Ryan and his weird, twisted obsession drugs both Tyler and soon after his sister, and then goes up to Chloe's room after the fact, puts saran wrap over her mouth, effectively cutting off her oxygen, trying to kill her essentially, which is really fucked up. We then see the presence that we've been living through try to force awaken Tyler, who's down in the living room. He succeeds in waking him up, bringing him back to consciousness. The brother goes up the stairs, tackles Ryan out of the bedroom window, both falling to their deaths. We then go to the next scene, which is the family moving out of the house after the incident. We see Rebecca looking into the mirror above the fireplace mantle, and she sees a reflection of her son, Tyler, which confirmed for us as the audience that we were living vicariously through Tyler the whole time. He was in a loop and was unable to get out of it. He was replaying the memories that led up to his death over and over and over. I think that's super effective. I loved that message at the end. It really hit home for me. And then the sound was great. The score, the composition, beautiful, melodic. It adds to the emotional journey of our characters in such a big way. I love this one. It's top 5 of the year for me already. A lot of people didn't like it though, and I can understand why, mainly because of the premise losing its pull too quickly, and then some of the questionable character motives and decisions, which I also can't deny. So I still loved it. Last movie I'm talking about is Companion. This one has done critically very well. I didn't love it though. I like it. I didn't love it. It looks great stylistically, some really cool angles and shots that were implemented into the film. And then obviously Sophie Thatcher does a great job playing the main protagonist, the android in this film. I just thought the story was a bit fabricated just for the sake of getting this AI into a difficult circumstance. We made up some really stupid story that just doesn't have any weight to it. I thought it was kind of I didn't like it. I didn't like that part of it. But again, the message is really good. AI, really, where do we draw the line for human rights in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, for an android? In this film, they literally use the android to kill somebody and to not take blame, saying that she killed him. It wasn't us. They hijack her system and she goes haywire and she kills somebody, and they try to steal some money through the process of doing that and try to get out without taking blame. So that could be a huge issue once the AI is developed enough that we could maybe see that being a thing and being an issue. So I love the message. I get it. I love it. The film looks good. The ending's really satisfying as well. I'll give the film that. The ending's awesome. We see the AI driving away at the end of the movie, and she looks over into another car and sees an android that looks just like her. And they both make eye contact for a moment. Our protagonist waves, and the other android looks at her confused and a little bit concerned. I think a sequel could actually work quite well here. There's a whole world of these androids that might look just like each other. How does that play out? How do you deal with that reality as an android? I think that could be very interesting to delve into. And again, why I think a sequel could work. Still a solid film. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. Those are the 4 movies I've watched. Stay tuned for the next episode. I'll try to have something out soon. Thank you as always, guys, and keep watching horror.